Thanks for checking out this show review video, and as promised, I am reviewing Season 2 of The Chucky Show because I could have done them both together, but that would have been a much longer video, and I think they're better being analyzed separately. Well, not analyzed, just kind of reviewed, talked about, because this is no spoiler, just like Season 1. Because I would recommend people watching the show, whether you just want to watch the first season and dip out on it, or you want to watch all the way through the second season. I think there is definitely enough good stuff in the second season to go through it personally, and I am interested to see where they're going to go for the third season, but we'll see when that happens, if that happens, because at this point it has not been renewed yet when I'm doing this review video, so fingers crossed it does get renewed. I like to see horror shows actually happening, and this one's been good. So I didn't, like I said, didn't like this season nearly as much as I liked the first. The first season, if you saw my review, big rating on that one. That was phenomenal. Very, very excellent. It is hard to follow something like that, especially with some of the kind of character incorporation choices that they made for Season 2. It's just not as interesting for that reason. Plus, how big they went at the end of Season 1 is a little bit hard to follow for Season 2, and you kind of see that when you're watching it. Disclaimer real quick, if I need to do something like that, clear my throat or something, I apologize. I'm still dealing with some remnants from having COVID. So yeah, got some stuff still hanging out, so my apologies. Season 2 is 8 episodes, just like Season 1 was, so exactly the same length, and again, those are like 1 hour episodes, but, you know, if you're going to watch them now, they don't have commercials with them, so it's a little bit less than 1 hour. Not really any synopsis because I don't want to ruin the events of Season 1, so it literally picks up where Season 1 left off. Some time has passed, but there's a lot that, you know, they fill in the gaps of what was happening there. The first season had an emotional aspect with loss and love involved in it, and they actually pick right back up at that spot for this season. Good to see that. I think that was one of the strong suits of Season 1, is kind of going down that road with characters and kind of exploring love and loss, and that's still going on here. Now, unfortunately, I don't think it has the impact that it did in Season 1, because the way they go about it, it starts to feel a little stale, like they're kind of rehashing some of the same stuff. Just doesn't get that new. It really feels like things just keep developing at a pretty good pace, like in the first season. Now, I will say that note that I wrote down was pretty much just for the first half. I do believe that the first half of Season 2 is quite good. It does really keep things moving for the most part. It's really getting story going. It's getting you caught up with what's going on with the characters. It's developing the characters even more than it did in Season 1, which is cool. But then once the second half of the season hits, it really starts to stagnate for the most part. Actually, I think it's a little bit more than half. I think it's like starting with episode 4, I think is where it starts to, I don't want to say go off the rails, but like do a little bit of off-roading to a degree, and it starts to stagnate a little bit. So that's just my feeling, and then the pacing really does start to suffer at that point. The pacing for Season 1 was excellent. The pacing for Season 2 through the first 3 episodes is really good, and then not so good. The setting to introduce new characters and victims actually works well for where the story was left off last season. So it is a good kind of entry point to be like, okay, here's a new stock of characters, because one of the big things is a lot of people got killed in the first season. You're going to need new people to be killed in the second season. We all know that, being slasher fans. That's what you got to do. You gotta build back up your stock of characters who are just there to get, and they do, and they do a good job with that. They do increase the humor a bit from the first season. It's not in a bad way though. In the first season, I didn't really notice that much humor, to be honest. It was just like a little bit here or there. This, for Season 2, it's not vastly increased, but you do notice that they did increase it, especially towards the beginning of second season, and that was fine. Like they incorporated it well. The humor that they throw in there is good humor, and it doesn't feel like it's out of place at all, so that's good. The story continually adds interesting twists and turns until Well, I was going to say until the second half of season 2, but there are still interesting twists. It's just in comparison to season 1, they're just not as compelling. They're not as interesting. They're not as grabbing. And you're like, okay, you know, they're doing twists. I didn't see this coming. I didn't see that coming. This is a new development. But I don't know. They just it feels a little flat. And then once they're kind of introducing twists and turns, in the first season, they were kind of like introducing the twists and turns, and then they were still moving at a good pace, and then like introducing more and more and more. So you kind of felt like, oh man, this is really great, or like getting so much thrown at us. Season 2, it doesn't feel as much like that because they take more time, it seems, in between. And like I said, they do have these moments where it feels like they're rehashing some stuff, and you're just like, okay, like we understand that that's what's going on right now. We don't need to dwell in it. And that gets to a feeling that maybe there was a little bit of padding that went into some of the scripts for season 2, unfortunately. Once again, not the first 3 episodes, but all the other episodes. It feels like there's some padding for runtime, because obviously they need to fill that time slot for the Sci-Fi Channel. There is good character development in the first season, and there is good character development in this season. So one of the strong things that's been there, well, actually, there's one character in particular that has really good development in season 2. 2 of the other big characters from season 1 don't really develop that much. I mean, like, their relationship changes in ways, but it doesn't feel like it's has that much impact. It doesn't feel as big, especially in comparison to the one character who they really do tend to focus on. And the development with that character is really good. But yeah, I mean, the character development isn't as strong as it was in season 1, but it's still there. Not a fan of episode 4. That's where things started to, like I said, kind of take a little bit of off-roading. Not a big fan of episode 4 at all. That was, I don't want to say painful, but somewhat painful to go through. The pacing does take a hit this season, and at times it feels like they're wasting time, like I said. There is a really awesome practical effects scene that they show multiple times in episode 7. So it does have these great kill moments, much like in season 1. There are some fun kills, there are some funny kills, there are some really cool practical effects kills, and in episode 7, they have one that they do, and you're like, wow, they went huge on that, it looks outstanding, and they show it multiple times from like different angles. It does start to feel a little bit gratuitous, but then at the same time, like I was like, I'm not mad at it because this just really does look so good. Pretty awesome, like a really, really nice gore-filled practical effects moment. So I really appreciated that. Then there's also a really great practical effects moment in episode 8, which is the finale episode. That one also, they didn't show it as much as the one in episode 7. They did focus on it a decent amount, and it looks wonderful. It's you know, it was obviously in there like we're going out with a bang in a sense in this episode, so that was cool. The finale episode in general, like, not nearly as good as the finale for season 1. The finale for season 1 was huge. It was awesome. It was really well done. The finale for season 2, it's okay. I kind of that's what I wrote down in my notes. I was like, it's okay. It's not great. It does set the story up to continue, but I didn't feel excited at the end of it like I was excited at the end of season 1. I didn't get to the end of it, see the events of it, and be like, man, I gotta see season 3. I can't wait to see where they're taking this. Like, that's how I felt at the end of season 1. I did not feel that way at all at the end of season 2. I was kind of like, I'll check back in with it. Like, I'll watch a season 3 because I want to support it, but just not real gung-ho about it. The last thing I want to say is something similar to something I said for my review of season 1, but it bears being reiterated in this video. That it's amazing to see Don Mancini grow in a new space that wasn't possible when the franchise was originally happening. The times basically have caught up to him, and he's being able to really spread his wings. So for that reason, I do like some of the choices, or a lot of the choices that are made in this, but from an entertainment standpoint, I can see where people aren't huge into it, and I wasn't as much. But it is what it is. Would be interested to see where they're going to go with the season 3, but let me know your thoughts on this, on season 2 of Chucky. Put it in the comments. Like it, hate it, in between. Give me like a sentence or two why. Yeah, that'd be great. Do me a quick favor though, hit subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I would appreciate that greatly. Also hit the notification bell button, because then you know when I'm putting up new videos. The best way you can support me, if you like anything that I do, is to subscribe and hit the notification bell button. I appreciate that. Regardless, thank you very much for checking out this video, and until next time, keep it brutal.